Hello, everyone, and welcome into the 29th episode of Jack's Mailbag, the series where I answer your Gamecock athletics questions. If you have a question you want answered on next week's episode, be sure to drop a comment in the comment section below on this YouTube video, or I'll post on the Insiders Forum on GamecockCentral.com, where you can ask any and all of your questions that you may have for me. This week, we only have a few questions to answer, but we're still going to answer them nonetheless. So without further ado, let's get into our first question of the week from Gamecock Russ, who asks, South Carolina has had a different leading receiver each game. Does someone repeat as a leader in receiving yards, or will we see a fifth name leading the way on Saturday? Yeah, so Gamecock Ross brings up a great point that I didn't even realize, honestly, because, looking back at the stats, you see that South Carolina indeed has a different receiver leading the way in receiving yards each game. It's been Dravius Jacobs in week 1 against Old Dominion. Week 2, it's Mazio Bennett with the touchdown with 63 yards leading the way against Kentucky in that big win. Week 3 against LSU, it was Jared Brown with 48 yards on 3 catches in that excruciating loss. And then 2 weeks ago, right before the bye week, Gage Larvadain came up with 2 catches for 79 yards in that 50-7 win over Akron. So the point is, the Gamecocks have had 4 different receivers leading the way in receiving yards in each of those games. If history points to that trend continuing, I'd feel like maybe someone like Dale Von Campbell, Nick Harbor, maybe one of the tight ends like a Josh Simon leads the way this week against Ole Miss and what's going to be a very big matchup. But honestly, I think the trend is probably going to come to an end. I think it's going to be a repeat receiver this time around. If I had to take a guess, I would probably go with, or make a prediction, I should say, I'd probably go with Mazio Bennett. He has been playing very well lately. Obviously, before the bye week in that game against Akron, Jared Brown wasn't playing, and Bennett really stepped up big, made all five. He caught all 5 of his targets and had a really big game, caught that 1 touchdown pass from Robbie Ashford. So, look, I think the expectation is that Jared Brown, Lenore Sellers, Rocket Sanders are all going to be back this week. On Carolina Calls, Shane Beamer did say that all 3 guys are probable as of right now, and that leans towards the fact of, okay, these guys are probably going to play on Saturday against Ole Miss, and that really helps the Gamecocks' chances on offense. But I do think, especially at receiver, you go with the hot hand, in my opinion. Bennett has been playing very well lately, but that's not to say a guy like Jared Brown can't come in and continue to do what he's done all year. Or we just see another guy step up that hasn't, really gotten the big chance to this year. I think a lot of people are waiting for Nick Harbor to have that big, explosive type of game. Will that happen this weekend? I doubt it, honestly. I'll eat my words next week on this episode if I'm wrong on that. But I haven't seen it from Nick yet. He's only had like 4 catches this year. Hasn't gotten super involved in this offense. But I would lean towards one of the normal top targets like a Mazio or even a Jared Brown to probably lead the way this weekend, but I'm going to go with Mazio Bennett for sure. Then our second and final question of the week comes from the newest member of Gamecock Central, a new full-time writer over with us at GC, Kevin Miller. So first off, just want to say welcome to Kevin for joining Gamecock Central. Welcome aboard, man. If you're watching this, appreciate you asking a question. I was a little caught off guard when you asked this, man. I was like, he's asking me a question? Like, that's kind of funny, but it's a funny one. So I appreciate you, Kevin, for joining. And yeah, man, you're doing a lot of great work. So appreciate you and all you do. But his question is, yes, I have a question. Longtime listener, first-time caller, Popeyes or Chick-fil-A for chicken sandwiches? I'll take my question off the air. Well, buddy, you're getting your question on the air. So, all right, this is a great discussion, and obviously a non-Gamecock athletics question. But you know what? I like answering questions like this that are completely random. So, look, next week's episode, I'd like to get some more questions. So, y'all can ask me literally anything, and it gets answered. I've answered some funny questions on here before that are Gamecock athletics related or not. So, let's get some more questions in for the 30th episode next week. How's that sound? But to answer Kevin's question, I've had both. Chick-fil-A I've had for much longer because it's been around longer. The Popeyes chicken sandwich exploded onto the scene, I think, maybe 2-3 years ago. It's been a few years since the whole Popeyes chicken sandwich fiasco happened, and it was like, it was like this limited. It felt like this limited time thing. I think it's still out, but it was hard to get for a time. And I remember trying it for the first time. I think I was at the location. I can't remember. It was like, I think it was like, it's about 15 minutes from here in Columbia. I can't remember where it is. But anyway, the point is, I had it. It was very good. It's very crispy. Compared to Chick-fil-A, you kind of know what you're gonna get. It's got, I think, more meat to it, but it's not as like crispy, I think. So if I had to pick one over the other, I usually rock with Chick-fil-A. But Popeyes is very good too. I would take the Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich. Normally I get like the spicy chicken deluxe, which is the the one with pepper jack cheese and lettuce, pickle, and the spicy chicken sandwich, obviously, and the bun's pretty good too. But don't sleep on Popeyes, though. You really can't go wrong with Popeyes. It's very good. Normally, when I go to Popeyes, though, it's every once in a blue moon. And if I do, I'm usually trying to go on a cut, eat a little healthier. And yeah, you're going to think, oh, fast food, you're going to eat healthier eating that. You'd be surprised. Like, Popeyes has some really good blackened tenders. That is about as healthy as it gets for fast food chicken. I will say that's usually my go-to there. A 5-piece with mashed potatoes. I try not to eat the biscuit if I'm, trying to, watch my calories and all that. But I will say that is usually my way to go. Although I've had the chicken sandwich, I've had both, in fact, the spicy and the regular. I do think the regular is probably better, but I'm not a big mayo guy. I think mayo's on the spicy, and don't judge. I'm not a big mayo guy, but yeah. So I think in short, I probably would go with Chick-fil-A, Kevin, but at the same time, you really can't go wrong with either. So, yeah, I appreciate the question, sir. And like I said before, I'm really happy that you're joining us over at GamecockCentral.com in a full-time role. So that is going to do it for this week's brief. This might be the briefest episode of Jack's Mailbag that we've had. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be well under 10 minutes. That's I like doing these episodes. I mean, we've done this since last year. Or earlier this year, honestly, since the start of baseball season. And this started out as a baseball question and answer type of show, but it's developed into a little bit more than that. So yeah, if you have a question you want answered on next week's episode, again, please ask as many questions as you want on the Insiders Forum. Comment below on this YouTube video, and I will be sure to answer your question. Until then, South Carolina plays Ole Miss this weekend, 3:30 p.m. on ESPN. It's going to be a big matchup for both teams. The Rebels are coming off a 20-17 loss against Kentucky last week, and a real stunner. In South Carolina, obviously coming off the bye week, but they had a great month of September, and they seem, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen this weekend. I'm recording this on Thursday night, and it'll be posted on Friday morning or afternoon, but the Gamecocks I really feel like they do have a chance. It feels like they've caught Ole Miss at the right time, where Ole Miss is a little bit vulnerable right now, and I really do think South Carolina can go out here and win this game, but we're going to have to see what happens on the field. So that's going to do it for this week's episode of Jack's Mailbag. Until then, have a great weekend, guys, and I will catch you guys next week.